The dust storm had been howling across Kesher Prime for 3 hours when Derek Nolan finally decided to close the supply depot for the night. He was securing the last external panel when he saw her, a figure huddled against the wall, trembling violently in the orange glow of the emergency lights. She was clearly alien, with burnt orange skin that seemed to shimmer even under the coating of dust, and blonde hair tangled with debris. Her clothes were torn, barely holding together, and she clutched her stomach with both hands as though she hadn't eaten in days. Derek didn't hesitate. He rushed over, gently lifting her to her feet. "Hey, you're freezing. Come inside." She flinched at his touch but didn't resist as he guided her through the depot doors. Once inside, he wrapped his thermal jacket around her shoulders and led her to the small office area. Her eyes, large and amber-colored, followed his every movement with an expression that struck him as almost startled. As if kindness was a language she didn't quite understand, he heated up a pot of vegetable soup on his portable burner, the simple meal filling the room with warmth and comfort. When he handed her the bowl, their fingers touched briefly, and she jerked back before catching herself. "It's okay," Derek said softly, setting the bowl on the table between them. "Take your time." She ate slowly, deliberately, as though each spoonful was precious beyond measure. Between bites, she kept glancing at him with those wide, wondering eyes. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lyra," she whispered, her voice hoarse from cold and exhaustion. Derek noticed details that didn't quite fit beneath the grime and tears. Her clothes seemed to be made of fabric far too fine for someone destitute. But he asked no questions about her past or what had brought her here. Instead, he offered her his back room to sleep in while he settled onto the office couch for the night. Through the half-open doorway, Lyra watched him arrange his makeshift bed. When he finally closed his eyes, she pulled his jacket tighter around herself and touched the worn fabric with trembling fingers. For the first time in weeks, tears rolled down her orange cheeks, not from despair, but from something she'd almost forgotten existed. Hope. Morning light filtered through the depot windows, casting geometric shadows across the floor where Lyra sat, still wrapped in Derek's jacket. He woke to find her already awake, nervously fidgeting with the hem. "I should go," she said quietly, but made no move to leave. Derek stretched and smiled. "You don't have to. I could use some help organizing supplies if you want to stick around." They worked side by side throughout the morning, stacking crates and cataloging inventory. Derek noticed how educated she seemed. She read multiple alien languages on the shipping labels with ease and moved with a refined grace that contradicted her ragged appearance. When their hands accidentally touched while reaching for the same container, she pulled back reflexively, then forced herself to stay close. As though fighting against trained instinct. At midday, Derek unwrapped his simple lunch-dried meat, bread, and preserved fruit. He split it down the middle without thinking. Lyra stared at her half as though he'd given her something priceless. She ate each bite slowly, savoring it with an intensity that made Derek's heart ache. "Where are you running from?" he asked gently. She looked up, surprised by his perception. "Expectations," she finally answered. "A life that was chosen for me before I could speak." Derek understood more than she knew. "I left a corporate job 5 years ago," he shared. "Everyone thought I was crazy, giving up security for this remote outpost. But out here, I can breathe. I can be myself." Lyra's eyes shimmered with emotion. "That's all I wanted," she whispered. "Just to be myself. To choose." As sunset painted the sky in shades of purple and gold, they sat together by the window. Lyra turned to him suddenly, reaching out with hesitant fingers. "May I?" she asked. When he nodded, she traced the lines of his face's jaw, his cheekbones, the crinkles around his eyes, with a wonder that made his breath catch. "I've never been allowed to just choose anything," she murmured. Not even something as simple as this. Derek gently brushed dust from her blonde hair, and she leaned into his touch with a small, contented sigh. They talked until the stars emerged, sharing dreams and fears in the intimate darkness. When exhaustion finally claimed them, they fell asleep sitting together on the couch, Lyra's head resting on Derek's shoulder, both finally feeling less alone. The third day dawned with a comfortable domesticity that felt both new and ancient. Derek and Lyra moved around the depot like partners who'd known each other for years rather than days. She helped him repair a malfunctioning moisture collector, handing him tools with intuitive precision. "You're good at this," he commented, impressed. She smiled mysteriously. "I've had extensive training in many things. Just never got to choose which things mattered." As Derek tightened the final bolt, Lyra impulsively leaned in and kissed him. The tool fell from his hand as he responded, surprise melting into tenderness. They broke apart, breathing hard, foreheads touching. "I've never done that before," she confessed. "Kissed someone I actually wanted to kiss." Derek cupped her orange-skinned face in his hands. "I'm honored to be your first choice." They spent the afternoon talking about everything and nothing, what freedom really meant, what dreams looked like when they weren't dictated by others. Lyra confessed, "I've never felt real before, like an actual person with actual wants. But with you, I'm real." Derek was about to respond when the screaming whine of engines shattered the moment. 3 sleek aircraft descended outside, their polished hulls bearing an emblem Derek recognized from corporate shipping manifests. Armed figures in expensive tactical armor stormed through the depot doors, weapons drawn. "Lady Kashari," the lead agent barked, his voice sharp with relief and frustration. "Your family has been frantic." Derek stepped protectively in front of Lyra. "Who the hell are you?" The commander, a scarred alien with military bearing, holstered his weapon. "Commander Vex, Kashari Security. This woman is Lyra Kashari, heiress to the Kashari Mining Consortium. She's been missing for 2 weeks." Derek's world tilted. He turned to Lyra, questions in his eyes. "It's true," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you. But Derek, please understand I ran because they were forcing me into a political marriage. I'm worth billions, and to my family, that's all I am worth." She grabbed his hands desperately. "I heard about you, the kind human at the frontier outpost who helped anyone who needed it. I wanted to know what it felt like to be treated like a person, not property." Derek stood between her and the guards. "She's not going anywhere she doesn't want to go." Lyra touched his face tenderly. "You gave me soup and kindness when you thought I had nothing. That's when I knew you were someone worth trusting. Someone worth loving." Commander Vex's expression softened slightly, but his duty remained clear. "Lady Kashari, your disappearance has destabilized 3 business alliances and caused panic across the sector. You must return." Lyra straightened, her bearing suddenly regal despite her torn clothes. "I won't marry for diplomacy. Vex, I won't be traded like merchandise." Derek's mind reeled as Vex explained the full scope. The Kashari Consortium controlled 40% of the sector's resource extraction, employed millions, and held political sway across dozens of worlds. Lyra had been groomed since birth for this role, every moment of her life controlled and choreographed. "They chose my clothes, my friends, my education," she said bitterly. "They were choosing my husband." I couldn't breathe anymore. Lyra pulled Derek aside while Vex communicated with his superiors. In the privacy of the back room, she grabbed Derek's hands. "I'm falling in love with you," she said urgently. "These 3 days have been the only real days of my life. You saw me, just me. Not my fortune, not my name, just ... me." Derek's heart hammered. "I feel the same way. But Lyra, I can't ask you to give up everything. You're not asking. I'm choosing. She kissed him fiercely, desperately, pouring everything she felt into that moment. When they broke apart, both had tears in their eyes. Vex appeared in the doorway. Your parents agreed to negotiate if you return safely. They're concerned, Lady Kishari. Lyra took a shaky breath, then nodded. I'll return. But on my terms. I'll face them, but I'm done being controlled. Derek immediately stepped forward. I'll come with you, she pressed her fingers to his lips. No, I won't put you in danger. They'll try to intimidate you, buy you off, or worse. I need to do this alone. The pain in Derek's eyes nearly broke her resolve. They walked to the waiting aircraft together, hands intertwined. At the door, Lyra turned and kissed him one last time, slow, deep, and full of promise. Wait for me, she whispered against his lips. I'll come back. I swear it. She pressed something into his palm, then climbed aboard. Derek watched the aircraft disappear into the sky, holding his jacket that still smelled like her. Later, in the pocket, he found a data chip. When he loaded it, coordinates appeared on his screen alongside a message in her handwriting. Trust me. 2 weeks. I love you. 14 days felt like 14 years. Derek maintained the depot, but his heart wasn't in it. He'd heard nothing from Lyra, no messages, no news reports, nothing. Fear gnawed at him constantly. Had her family imprisoned her? Forced her into the marriage anyway? On the 14th evening, he couldn't take it anymore. He locked up the depot and followed the coordinates Lyra had given him. They led to a private landing pad in Kesher Prime's glittering capital. Derek felt desperately out of place in his work clothes among the sleek towers and expensive vehicles. Then he saw her. Lyra descended from a luxury transport wearing elegant robes that shimmered like starlight, her blonde hair styled in intricate braids. But when she saw him, her sophisticated mask crumbled into a radiant smile, the same genuine smile she'd given him over soup. You came, she breathed, running to him. Derek caught her in his arms, spinning her once before setting her down. I was going crazy, he admitted. I thought, she silenced him with a kiss. When they finally separated, she took his hands. Let me tell you everything. She explained how she'd confronted her parents, not with pleas, but with evidence of their corrupt business practices she'd quietly gathered over the years. I told them I'd expose everything unless they gave me autonomy. The arranged marriage is canceled. I'll maintain my business responsibilities, but I live my own life now. Derek stared at her in awe. You're incredible. Lyra's eyes sparkled mischievously. I used my first act of freedom to buy your supply depot. Well, technically I bought the whole region, but the point is, it's ours now. If you'll have me as a partner. Derek laughed in disbelief. You're serious? She grabbed his face. I don't want your gratitude, Derek. I want your partnership. Your love. You gave me soup when you thought I had nothing. Now I want to build something real with you. They kissed deeply, finally free from fear and separation. Lyra revealed her plans for a foundation to help refugees and runaways escape controlling situations. You showed me what real wealth is: kindness, choice, freedom. I want to give that to others. That night, they returned to the depot together. Under the vast star field, they danced slowly to music from Derek's old radio. Lyra, still in her elegant clothes but barefoot in the dust, laughed with pure joy. You were never poor, Derek murmured. You were always rich in spirit. She pulled him closer. And you were always my fortune. I just had to find you. They sat in the doorway where they'd first met, her head on his shoulder, both finally home.